Hello, I am live. Thank you for your patience waiting for me. I'm a few minutes late. And everything feels crooked to me right now. That's a little less crooked because I was so busy trying to set up in here, and I don't know if you can still see her. There she is. That is Inara. And usually during my office days, good morning, Bernard. She hangs out on my bed, all curled up and whatnot. But then when I have to go set up for live stream or whatever, she kind of leaves. Well, today she decided not to leave. So until now. Of course she leaves right now. Okay. Any case, I'll get more comfortable. But yeah, so she was all in my space. And then, of course, I'm trying to work around her. And then I knocked everything over and I had to reset everything up. So I am so sorry, you guys, that I'm a few minutes late. But here I am. I've arrived. So welcome to Growing Gratitude. I am Becca Lori Hector. This is where we get together to talk about the things that are challenging to autistic adults alive right now. And then we talk about what motivates us through it and how we find the things that keep us going, right? How we get through those things. So good morning, Bernard. Good morning, Burnett. Hi, Bill. Oh, thank you. She is a beautiful girl. And thank you that we got to see her for a few minutes, that she joined us for a few minutes here. Today, what are we going to talk about today? Well, today, I really want to talk about something that I don't talk about often, I guess, and maybe I should start talking about more often. I feel so crooked, you guys. That's a little less crooked. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about some fun stuff today. Let me get my regular glasses on to talk about stuff that I don't talk about often, but I do try to remind myself to talk about it more. So in an effort to talk about something a little bit more, I brought it here to Growing Gratitude. But I wanted to take this moment right now to remind you that if you're not signed up for my newsletter just yet, now is the time. Today is the day. It comes out tomorrow morning. So please head over to beccalori.com, and right on the homepage, you can scroll down. You can sign up for my monthly Musings newsletter. And you just sign up right there. And then once a month, I send you out this glorious little newsletter filled with my inner thoughts, some free downloads and free challenges, and just some highlights of what's going on in my life, and some continued learning along this way. And so please head over to my website, sign up for it. You'll get it tomorrow morning. This month's theme is self-awareness. Ooh. So that's coming out to you guys tomorrow. And then another quick reminder that, of course, Patreon is out there. So if you have not yet joined my Patreon and you love what's happening here on Growing Gratitude, please come over there, hang out there. You can have some more access to some of the things I do, or you can just support Growing Gratitude over there, which is really appreciated by me. And so with that, I'm going to move us off of housekeeping and into another kind of housekeeping, really. I want to build on that thought, that idea that I was working with last week, you guys, around, what was I working on? I was working on around self-care. That's what it was. Oh, that's better. I was too close. I was talking about self-care last week, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about it. Last week, I talked about how self-care is not glamorous most of the time. And it isn't, right? This idea of self-care really is came really from the medical community. And what is it that you can do yourself as a person outside of medical care to keep yourself well? That is where self-care comes from. So there are a lot of things that we do automatically that are self-care that we don't necessarily drop into that category. And I'm going to talk about one of those non-glamorous categories that we don't talk about that is still self-care today. And that is, shake it. Meds are meds. This is my med. This is one of my lifelines, right? Meds are self-care, period. Your meds are self-care. When you remember to take them, if you make it a priority to take them correctly, and that includes meds like vitamins and supplements, right? It doesn't have to be meds that are just prescribed by your doctor, right? These are the things that you need to remember to intake in the way that you need to remember to intake food that's healthy for you, right? And that's also self-care, right? The thing about this piece of self-care right here, and Isabel, if you're watching, Isabel, I have some B-roll of me doing my pills for this week that I want to stick in if we choose a clip from in here. Saying it out loud so I don't lose it. Um, but I do my pills once a week, right? Once a week, I sit in front of a massive containers. And for right now, I'm just going to show you the photograph that I have of it. Um, Here it is. Here's a photograph of all of my medications. Oh, that's almost really good. You can kind of almost see it. There's a lot of bottles. There's a lot of stuff happening in that photo, right? And once a week, I have to sit down and I have to do this situation, right? Did it yesterday, so it looks really full, which is really cool and effective for today's conversation, right? But as you can see, the days of the week are wearing off. I've had this sucker for, I can't even tell you how long, at least 7 years, 8 years, right? I don't take any midday pills, so that lovely little section in there doesn't get used very often, but I do put my emergency pills in there. So the ones that I have to take as needed, right? And that are kind of, I need to just have around easy access to, right? So my migraine medicine is in there, for example. Okay, I put Benadryl in there, Advil, stuff like that. Anyway, so on Sundays, all those bottles come out, right, of the corner of our counter, and I lay them all down and I divide them into their respective morning and nightness, right, and then I go about fling, 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 right, and as I'm doing my pills, what I wish was happening in my brain was, hey, you are doing self care right now. You're doing such a good job of setting yourself up for a successful week just by laying out these pills in here, right? But this week, right? And that isn't, by the way, how I feel when I do my pills. I also don't feel like that little autistic spark of joy when everything is all neat and finished, which I wish I felt that way about my pills too. I do have some pretty colors in there that look nice together, and that gives me like small entertainment. But for the most part, right, this is the most depressing self care task that I do every week. My meds. I swear. Every week, I have to sit down with all of those pills. Some of them are supplements, some of them are prescribed, right? I have to take meds for my blood pressure. I take meds for my stomach. I'm taking meds for my brain space, right? I'm taking those meds as well, right? And then I take a bunch of supplements because, as you guys know, I've mentioned before, I've got other disabilities going on besides my autism, and so I need to supplement some things in there, right? So this week I had the pleasure. Oh, the pleasure. Can you sense the sarcasm of adding yet another pill to the routine? Yay. No, it did not feel like yay. Felt depressing. Felt like I'm getting old. Felt like I'm getting more broken. Felt like I am not really supposed to be here, actually. And it's only because I do all this that I'm still standing, right? That's how I felt adding a pill this week. I felt dejected about the whole situation, right? Just like, because every week I do it, and every week I say, "Oh, here we go, and I fill up our pill case," and I do this whole little sarcastic thing in my kitchen, right? Where it's like, doing it, right? Kind of how I do for myself when I get out of the shower. I get out of the shower and I'm like, "Guess who's clean?" I do that for myself all the time when I get out of the shower. And so when I do my pills, I go, "Guess who did it?" Right? Guess who's raring to go for another week? Um, and in that sarcasm this week, because of the added pill, I realized that I never talk about this piece with anybody, right? Other than my husband, because he's there when it happens. I never talk about kind of the way we have to make jokes around the things that are very, very real to us, right? So there's some very, very real things about meds, right? First of all, if we're taking them, right, it means we need help with something, chemical help with something, right? Something's not right. And it's something that is, maybe we've tried other things for, maybe we didn't even know was necessarily happening, right? Maybe it's linked to something else that's going on for us, like poor sleep or something else, right? Um, Other times, and this is a very personal thing for me, other times it feels like I am codependent on Western medicine. Um, and like I go to the doctor these days and it doesn't feel like anybody's really listening to me about what's going on for me. What they're trying to do is get me in and out as fast as possible because the more patients they see, the more they get paid. And also, they're trying to spend as little time with us as possible in there. And so there's less questions asked and there's less of a relationship with our caregivers, right? And so in that way, they really don't want to add anything to what we're doing, and they really don't want to hear that we've got yet another problem or another question we have to ask, right? Um, oh, sorry, I have a cat hair on my mouth. Um, and so that is kind of the way that I feel. Every time I go through my pillowcase, I go, look at me trapped by Western medicine. Because there are some medicines in there that you can't, right? Stop taking, just stop taking. And others that I know I need, right? And the improvement in my life that they provide is worth it, right? And other ones I'm taking and I'm going, really? Do I need to be taking this, right? Or is this just another part of the game? Let me check over chat's happening. See, Burnett uses a 30-day pill organizer for prescriptions and supplements. Oh my. Kudos to you, Burnett. I could not do 30 days at a time. I definitely could do it. So kudos to you. I wish I could do that. That must be amazing. It must be so nice for an entire month to just take your pill and try not to think about it, right? Um, let's see. And Burnett says also it makes it hard to trust them. Yes, it makes it hard to trust your medical professionals when they don't really want to spend time with you or get to know you or answer your questions. And autistics love questions, right? Makes that hard. And so I look at this pill case and it represents to me so many things, right? I go, pill case, I need you. And yet, right? And that is the epitome of self care. Shower, I need you. And yet, right? Food, I need you. And yet, right? All of that stuff, right? And so Bill says he doesn't bathe his cat because that's the first sticks to his tongue. I'm telling you, I have to stop doing it. They're just so reliant on me, right? Anyway, Bill says he has a small wooden chest with 15 little painted porcelain drawers from India that he got at World Market for his daily doses. And he uses a typical organizer for bedtime pills. I love that. Maybe that's something I should consider, Bill, and something we should all think about. Maybe if my container was a little prettier, right? Or a little more functional or a little nicer to look at, maybe I wouldn't be so annoyed at my little, $6 Walgreens or CVS, wherever I got it from. But I sit around with it, and I guess you guys do too, right? Because we have to refill it, and every time I refill it, it's that moment of pause. And this week, the moment of pause was like, you know what? Self care is not glamorous. In fact, here I am again with yet another example of self care is not glamorous. It's not, and we all have our own different relationships with taking our meds. I know a lot of people are grateful instantaneously for their meds. I'm somebody who's had an on again, off again relationship with medications. I was started on medications very early for things that were not really happening, right? So that's part of my baggage around medicine, right? I was given, psychiatric meds very young, right? In hopes that they were fixing whatever mood disorder they figured I had because nobody knew I was autistic at the time, right? And so I've been dealing with this and this lack of trust between myself and my medical professionals most of my life. And so even though I know that that this point in my life, I know that the meds that are in this container are ones that I am choosing to take. There was most certainly a time in my life in which I was not a part of the decision-making process around the medications that I was taking, nor was I entirely educated. And so there's pain around that. There's trauma triggers around it. And so here is this really important piece of self care, right? That triggers my trauma, and I have to do it on a weekly basis, right? And so I'm interested. I'm interested about everyone's experiences and their relationship with medications, whether it's ones that are prescribed or supplements that you take. Um, I'm interested. I'm interested in everybody's ability, and I'm also interested because here's what freaks me the most, right? Is that I take a lot of pills. I think I once wanted to count. I don't even want to look down and count anymore, but it's upwards of like 10 pills a day, right? And I think about, and then if I add in Advil or anything, right? Um, I think about the people for whom taking pills is not easy, for whom they struggle with the activity, the action, the muscles of taking a pill, and how difficult that part must be for a lot of people. And I feel grateful that I don't have that experience, but I know you guys are out there. So, what are your solutions? Or do you have solutions that you could share with others who struggle with taking pills but must take them as part of this non glamorous self care that we all must do, right? Um, I don't know. Those were my thoughts around it today. Were really this thing. And then I guess my last little piece is, I mean, if I don't do this, who am I if I don't do this? But this is your friendly little meds reminder. Like that. Meds reminder. I wish I had a little song for you that made you happy to take your meds. But seriously, there is nothing that can mess up my day more than forgetting to take my meds, right? Because, like I said, there are some meds that you can't just stop taking, ones that I feel hours into my day if I forget to take them, right? And so I really am somebody who has to remember. And sometimes I don't, but most of the time I do these days. I've been taking them for so long and doing it as a part of my life that I've created, right? I've got little things that surround it as reminders. It's part of my morning routine. I scoop the cat litter, I take my pills. Boo, boo, right? That's how it goes for me. But there are other people for whom medications are new, or other people like me this week who've added medications or changed medications, right? And we need that little reminder. So this is me reminding you to do your non-glamorous self-care. Go take your meds if you haven't taken them. If you haven't stopped to pee, stop and pee. If you haven't had any water or something to drink or had a snack today, please do those things. All of those things are non-glamorous self-care. And yet we must do them. So meds reminder, food reminder, water reminder, bathroom reminder. Go do those things for yourself right now if you're watching this and you've got to, or if you haven't yet today, put them in your schedule, because those are self-care. Ba-ba! And that is my announcement around self-care for this week. Otherwise, you guys, I don't really have much I want to talk about. Our world is insane. I've given my advice around that. I am doing things on a regular basis to make sure that I'm taking control of the things that I don't have control over. And I hope you guys are too. Let's see what's going on over here in chat. Bernard says, my esophagus started shrinking a couple of years ago. I take a lot of medications, which is difficult and requires a lot of water. So here's Bernard. He's given advice over here. So lots of water, right? Extra water is a big bonus for him. I have some friends who dissolve their pills, but some pills you can't dissolve. And like, there's all kinds of games with this stuff. And I know friends that use applesauce, and I know friends who do all kinds of other things. And so let's share them. Let's share them in the comments. Let's share them in chat. Let's share them where we see each other. I'll probably post some kind of clip about this. And so you can share it there. But I love when we give each other, like, we get each other hyped up with reminders and songs and little things that we can do. And however silly I need to be to get into your head and about all that and be a little earworm about remembering to do non-glamorous self-care, I will do that. I have no shame. None, zero. And so I will absolutely do that stuff for you. And I would love it if in return you could share your advice, share the things you care about, share how you get through self-care that isn't glamorous, right? And what other versions of self-care that isn't glamorous that you can think of. I love all of those things. And with that, I'm going to say, oh, this week's Growing Gratitude is over. And I remind you with all of my energy, please, 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 and this time especially, make sure you are taking care of your meat suit, that you are protecting your headspace and you are staying open to all of the glimmers out there. These days, they are small, but that makes them mighty. Right? So keep your eyes open for them. Pause at the end of every day and say to yourself, what do I have to be grateful for today? What tiny little thing made today just a little bit better, even if it was the crappiest day ever? Do that for me, and I will see you out on the interwebs, and I will, of course, see you back here next Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern for the next Growing Gratitude. Bye.